Hello YouTube, Billy Watman here. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how I do my strumming technique and how I incorporate it into my playing. I'm going to give you guys some tips and pointers so you guys can incorporate it into your playing and really add that rhythm and that kind of liveliness into your playing. Before we start this video, I want to say a massive thanks to everyone that subscribed since last video. See on my board here, we're on 12,091 subscribers now, up 63 from the last video. So thank you so much. And if you haven't subscribed already, you know what to do. Join us on our road to 100k. Right, without further ado, step numero uno. First you want to get down this two-stroke pattern, which is just down with your middle and ring, and then up with your thumb. Most important part is to keep the movement in your wrist, not your hand. So you don't want to be kind of over-accentuating this with your fingers and moving your whole hand. It wants to be like a nice and fluid movement from the wrist. So once you kind of get this speed going up and down, and you kind of get that nice movement in your wrist, you can start accentuating them to kind of bring out more rhythm. So start with the 4-beat pattern and accent the 1. So it'll sound like this. So this on its own, you can already make this into its own little thing. So it's simple, but it works. Step numero dos. So now we're going to introduce a 3-beat pattern. Very similar to step number 1. So down with the middle and ring, down with the thumb, and then up with the thumb. And remember what I said, keep everything in the wrist. So if you watch my wrist in this, minimal to no movement. And once you get this practice down, you're getting this tight, you can practice the speeds. And you can get it into this really cool roll that you can use on chords. So like, right, so I'm kind of new to this whole YouTube editing thing, but we're going to try something here and hopefully this works. So, got my remote here. Would you look at that? Right, so we got a lovely slow-mo of what's going on in my right hand here. So as you can see, there's very minimal movement in my wrist. So to get that kind of speed, this is what you need. You need that looseness and that twist in the wrist. Poet, and I didn't even know it. Oh, I'm making myself cringe. Anyways, so an example that I love to use with this is that your wrist essentially needs to be like one of those Chinese hand drums. So I'll just put one here so you know what I'm talking about. So you have that movement in your wrist and your fingers will follow through with the movement. Step numero tres. So step number 3 is basically like a part 2 of step number 2 because it's the same movement, so that same 3-stroke pattern. Apart from now we're going to add 1 at the beginning, so up with the thumb to make it a little 4-stroke pattern, but just once, so a little burst. And this is really great for putting at like the end of something, like I did at the end of that riff at the beginning, to really like make a point there. So like, so up with the thumb, down with the middle and ring, down with the thumb, and then up with the thumb again. Step numero cuatro. This is where the real fun begins because we start to mix 1, 2, and 3 all together. So starting with our bass, step number 1. We're gonna bring the tempo up and start mixing where these accents go. It should sound something like this. So now we're going to start implementing bits of step number 2, which is kind of like step number 2 and 3. So a 3-stroke burst. Same as step number 2, down with the middle ring, down with the thumb, up with the thumb. And you're going to start putting these in the same place that those accents would have gone, but mixing it with just singles and burst. So now we should have something like this. So now we're really getting something. So we put some chords behind this already. Little side note for anyone wondering what chords I'm using. It's an A minor, G major, a C major, and an E major. But you can use any chords that you guys would like. What I'm teaching you here is just the right hand technique. So now we can add step number 2, the roll. Basically anywhere that we're feeling it in this strumming pattern. So for example, I might put it at the end here on the E. But I could put it anywhere. I could put it on the G as well. You can really just mix and match. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm giving you guys the ingredients and you can mix them about however you would like. Step numero 5. So step number 5, this is our final part, and this is to add ghost notes in there. And what I mean by that is to hold your fingers on top of the strings to create these dead notes. So this adds a bit more percussion in there. So putting them in between your chords For the bar chords, it's really easy. You just have to lift off just enough so you get those dead notes. But then when you get to open chords, so for example, like in the C and the E, we've got open strings that we need to cover to create those dead notes, otherwise they'll just ring through. So with the C, you can see my fingers will just drop down onto the strings where I need them, and then same with the E, but obviously I've got these free, so I can just add them here. So adding everything together, this is our final product. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys. If there's anything in particular that you guys would like to see me talk about, whether it's a review, explanation, anything, put it down in the comments, and who knows, you might see it on the channel in the future. Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.